We're talking before the break about, kids and the opportunities that they can have these days that we didn't have when we were growing up, and learning different things and being creative and having lots of experiences and creating possibilities of learning. Whereas if we wanted to do something, a lot of the time you'd say, oh, there's no money for that, or do you think money grows on trees, or this or that, or whatever. These days, it's yes, dear. Okay, let's go get that, or do this, or whatever it might be. So their opportunities are there for them to learn and grow and to be creative. Your thoughts on that, Siera?
Yeah, I think it goes back to that whole piece about self-discovery and why we had started by saying that I think that kids nowadays have a better chance of being able to know who they are. And just as before we went to break, you were talking about like how we have to nurture children, and it's our job as parents to facilitate them becoming independent and knowing their own capabilities and having a sense of self-trust. And by allowing them to explore and do these things where we were told it's a waste of time, we don't have money for that, what do you think's going to come of that, don't be silly, there was things around shame anytime we wanted to explore or do something that wasn't productive, right? And so here we are, all these grown-ups on the planet have been so focused on accomplishments, achievements, and productivity, and only focusing on doing those things, that they've never figured out who they are. And it puts you then vulnerable and into a place where you are going to have to question that. And it feels like chaos, and it feels like your world is falling apart because bad things happen, unexpected bad things happen to every single one of us. It's coming.
Only if you think like that. It's all about your thoughts and what you think, and what you think about you bring about. And if you want
Yeah.
to think about bad things, that's what's going to happen.
But
If
we're
you
not
want
in control. You are going to, like, somebody is going to die
well, we're all going to
unexpectedly in
die.
your life. Well, that's what I'm saying. But people aren't prepared for that. And so that can be really devastating and really bad thing that really throws somebody into a tailspin because they weren't expecting somebody. People ignore death and we ignore grief. And particularly in our culture here in the States, nobody wants to talk about dying. Nobody wants to talk about that your parents are going to die. Nobody plans right. They don't prepare for it. They don't know how to handle it when the coworker in your office, their mother just died unexpectedly. Like it is that bad thing that we have no control over that's going to show up for every single one of us. It's coming.
Well, we're born to die, but what we do
Mm-hmm.
in between born and death, this,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's real. We're born,
Mm-hmm.
we live a life, and then we die. However that happens. Hopefully, it's not for a long time yet.
Yeah.
Got too many things to do,
Yeah.
and it's like we don't talk about death. We don't
Mm-mm.
talk about preparation for it. Even when we're older, uh, it's really interesting. And I think people have a fear of dying. And a lot of people say these days that are spiritual, it's it's our physical body that's gone, but our soul is
Mm-hmm.
still here. It is still
Mm-hmm.
present. And you can find that really difficult to understand. But there are people that do understand it. And the presence of someone, or that feeling, if someone's passed and you get this rush or this feeling of someone going by you. I don't know whether you believe in ghosts or whatever, but some
Mm-hmm.
houses have ghosts in them. And I've actually seen things rush past me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, oh, what's that? Ghost, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't scare me at
Mm-hmm.
all. And
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend who he does he heals the ground with all the ley lines and things that are running in the wrong ways or meet in the wrong place, or there's been a massacre in an area that people are living on and they don't sleep or they get sick or all that sort of stuff. And
Mhm.
he heals that and helps people feel better. Now, you can call that woo-woo, or you can
Mhm.
call it spiritual, or you can call it whatever you like. But it
Mhm.
goes back centuries that
Mhm.
people were divining. Maybe they could divine for water, or they'd be divining for gold, or they'd be divining for something. But
Mhm.
it's an actual process that can happen. You'll watch and you'll see a row of trees, and the trees are all healthy except for one, and it keeps dying. What's happening in that part of the ground? Are the
Mhm.
ley lines meeting in the wrong way? What's going on under the ground to make that particular part not function like the rest to allow the trees to grow?
Mhm.
Take note of all these things these days. It's amazing what you learn when you have lots and lots and lots of conversations with people.
Yeah, I'm
And
sure.
yeah, but
Well, I was gonna
it's,
say, and it all goes back to energy too.
yeah,
You said about us being just energy beings. The reality is the chair you're sitting on, the computer we're looking at, all of these things, it's not woo-woo, it's science.
mm,
Everything, all matter is energy, and energy
yes,
cannot be created or destroyed. So that means everything takes on a different form. Whether we see it or not, doesn't matter. Whether you can personally hear it or feel it or sense it or not, doesn't mean that it's not real. Science tells us it is. Like I said, science says energy cannot be created or destroyed.
yeah, and that's
So,
true. It can't be created, can't be destroyed. It is, it is there. Everything's an energy.
mhm,
And when I first heard that, I'm thinking, oh, you're all loopy, you're all mad, you know. But when you delve into it a little bit more and you start to learn more about these things and the science of how things are created and us as human beings, where did we actually come from and how long have we been here and what do we descend from? They say we descended from apes. Where did the apes come from? Where did the dinosaurs come from?
mhm,
How many millions of years has Earth been around? What was
mhm.
here before us? What was here before them? So it's really interesting to have these conversations. And
Mhm.
there'll be people out there saying, oh, I'm going to turn it off. I don't want to listen to this anymore.
And that's okay. Look, there is no right or wrong about it. It just, you can only meet people where they're at. And in my perspective, and for most of the people that I hang out with, that I have conversations with, we understand that there is a mix, that it is not just spiritual and it's not just science, that it is both things. And I think science is proving more and more every single day, because I'm a very logical thinker. I've always been very pragmatic, very fact-based. So I love all the science behind things. And I see it in all of my research and all the things that I follow. Science continues to get more and more clear about all the things that we consider to be spiritual laws and spiritual happenings and spiritual stuff has a scientific reason for it. It has scientific backing now, where they can say, we have proven this, and not just once, but we have studied it for 35 years. And it is true. It is unequivocally true
Mm.
that you can sense emotions, that we can know what other people are really feeling, whether they communicate it out loud or not, whether you think of yourself as like an energy reader or healer of some kind or not. We all do. We all have that.
Yeah, and but some of us use it and some of us don't.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Or we
Yeah.
use it and we're not conscious about using it.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. We, hmm, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, that we
Mm-hmm.
can use things and we're not aware that that's what's
Mm-hmm.
happening. It's
Mm-hmm.
just something that happens to us on an, daily basis or whenever, and you just accept it. But why not become curious and start delving in and finding out more about it and asking the questions and finding people to have those conversations with so that you can delve into it and say, oh, wow, is that really? That's what's been happening to me all this time and I didn't really understand it. And once you get that clarity around something, then you can hone in on it and start to use it in a way that is useful.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You know, I think about it. I can remember one very successful business person that I worked with, and older gentleman, and he used to brag about being able to like read people in the room and be able to, know how far he could push them and whether they were bluffing or not and like all these other things. And so I was like, oh, so you had your own form, like that was being intuitive. That's what people call empathic. And he was like, not any of that nonsense. That's not what that is. That's different. And I was like, no, actually, it's not. So he was using it all the time. And it was such a key part of what made him very, very, very successful individual. And yet he, in his way, in his upbringing, had no interest in my trying to attach my vocabulary to it and say, look, see, you really are. What can we do to, he didn't want any part of that. So there was no conscious awareness, of using his connection, his ability to be able to read the energy of somebody, their feelings, none of that. But he
But
was a master at it
he'd do it all the time and just
all the
take it for
time.
granted.
And
And
he would
reading,
say that that's what made him successful. I mean, then I'm
reading,
talking like hundreds of millions of dollars that he
yeah,
sold his company for at the end. And then I helped him start a second one, but it wildly globally successful. And he would, God
did,
bless him, he came to me.
he came to you. You didn't go to him. He came to you.
No,
He was drawn
no,
to you.
he was
So,
drawn to me.
okay. So
Yeah.
therefore, you were having this conversation with him. He was doing things that he'd always done in the way
Hmm.
he always did it, but never
That's how he
understood.
chose me.
Yeah,
Yeah. We met not at like a networking thing or anything like that. It was out of context. We were strangers to each other. And he literally was like, I'm going to hire you. I don't know what you do, but I know I need you on my team. And I was like,
really,
okay.
really.
Hmm.
Wow.
Hmm.
That can be a bit scary, can't it, when people can read you like that? Or
Well,
it
I
can be
mean,
fabulous.
I was saying, not for me, it's not because I do it to other people all the time. I do it to other people all the time, but um yeah, there's a different piece of it, and I think it's part of what makes me feel so special, feel like what I do is such a gift to other people, is because I can see people's highest potential. I see their full capability and I can feel it, and I can inspire that in them, and I can motivate them with it, and I can get them to have a depth and a connection to themselves, to spirit, to their power, their true sense of value and power that they don't get to have. And I can see that for them. And there are some days and some times where that's such a gift to me that I just feel like this is more for me. Like it makes me feel so good that I can give that and do that to somebody. Um,
But it also makes them feel good as well when
oh,
they can actually
absolutely. Yeah,
see their potential and what
you
is
wouldn't believe
out there
it.
waiting for them. And they go, it's been out there all the time, but I never saw it.
Yeah, or they've had these stories. Listen, I've had, like I said, incredibly wildly successful people in life break down and cry because I said to them something that was their highest and best truth and capability. And they were like, nobody's ever told me that before.
Mm.
And they're crying. And I say, you're only crying because some part of you knows it's true. It's the only reason why.
Yeah. So what
But it
would you
will
say?
shift their life. It will change them. It
Yeah.
changes all of us when somebody speaks our real highest truth to us. It
Mm.
does. It changes you forever.
What would you say to the people listening, our listeners out there, if they were wanting to do something and they needed to find their higher self and have the courage to go and pursue it? Look at those possibilities in life. What would you say to them?
I would say try and spend some time with yourself. You know, it doesn't have to be meditating or anything, but you got to be able to hear yourself, feel yourself, know that your body contracts or it expands over something. Just spend even 15 minutes a day sitting out in the yard with your cup of coffee in the morning. Just get quiet and get to know yourself in some sort of way. And then it makes everything else so much easier. It is your guidance, it's there all the time.
Beautiful. Thank you, Siera. How can they get in contact with you very quickly?
Sure. You can reach me on LinkedIn at Siera-Sambrosky or on Facebook and Instagram. It's Siera Intuitively Knows. And then I do have a website. It's Alchemy, ALKEMAI.com.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.